What's up, y'all? Logan Parker, Heirloom Builders. Welcome back to the wedding barn. Today, we're installing windows in just a few easy steps. I'm going to show you how to do it. Here we go. So the most important part about installing a new window is to make sure that you have the rough opening built correctly. So take a look at your manufacturer's sizing, and they'll give you two sizes, a frame size and a rough opening size. The frame size is the actual size of the finished window. The rough opening is the one that you want to use to frame in your window. That rough opening is going to give you about a 1/4 inch of space all the way around the window that you can use to shim the window to get it perfectly square, because a lot of times it's a rough opening and it's not going to be perfectly square. Buildings tend to move a little bit, and so you create typically a 1/2 inch larger opening than your frame size so that you can shift it to be square, plumb, and level. So your rough opening gives you a little bit of wiggle room. You want to make sure that you frame the interior opening to that rough opening so your window fits in there nicely. The second thing that you want to do is make sure that you follow your manufacturer's installation instructions. That's what the building code says, and that's what you need to do, because most likely the warranty is only going to be good if you follow the manufacturer's guidelines for installing the window. So take a look at the manufacturer's installation instructions and follow those. We're going to give you a few more tips to get a good installation pretty quick and easily. Let's do it. So the first thing we do when we install a window, guys, is we make sure to flash the opening with sticky self-adhesive window flashing tape. And in this case, we are only about 6 or 8 inches above a roof to wall intersection. So instead of relying on just a 4-inch wide piece of window tape at the bottom, we're gonna go ahead and put some of this PVC roll vinyl flashing and use that to wrap up into the window, and then tape the corners of the window with the sticky flashing before we install the window. So that way any rain or moisture that gets behind that window is going to drain on top of that metal flashing and down on top of the roof and out. Especially since we have an uninsulated barn here, it's going to be really critical to keep that moisture from coming in, since there's no vapor barrier or continuous weather resistive barrier on the outside of this framing. Let's see, so after we prep our opening, make sure that sill is level. A lot of times what we'll do is we'll check with this long level on the sill of the window opening, on the bottom of that window opening, and if it's not level, we'll use a shim. We put one on each corner and then one in the middle. And especially where this is a twin window, it's made of 2 separate windows, we want to make sure that there's a shim underneath the joint between those 2 windows where that window is mulled together, because that's a weak point. So make sure there's a shim at least in the corners and in the middle. And on a wide window like this, you want probably 5 shims, 1 on each edge, 1 in the middle, and then 1 mid-span between each one of these smaller twin windows. Once we do that, we're going to go ahead and caulk the outside frame, rough framing, so that when we set our window in and peel out the flanges, the nail flanges, we can just set our window into place and it's already caulked continuously all the way across, and we don't have to worry about getting our hands messy grabbing the window. If we caulk the back of that flange, it could be a really big mess. So we just cut to the chase and caulk the window opening. You want to make sure that you do not caulk along the bottom of the window, and that way any moisture that gets in behind the window has a way to escape at the bottom. Set the window into place make sure that we have an even reveal on the window framing, which means here we have an 1 7/8 between the jack stud, the trimmer stud on this side, and the inside of the window jamb here, and then the same thing 1 7/8 on the other side. If not, we shift it over to make it an even reveal. That way when we go to trim out the window in this rough post and beam barn, we have the same width trim all the way around. And then once we do that, we nail the top corners of the window to tack it in place, and then we can check our diagonals to make sure that they are the same measurement.
It's good, you guys. That's it, 80.16.
Nice. If they're not, we can scoot the window to the left or right on the bottom to square it up, and then we tack the bottom corner to secure the window in position. And then and these are casement windows, so they crank open with a little crank. So we crank them open, make sure that they open fluidly, and that they close shut, and the latch closes to close the entire window without hanging up on any of the hardware. And then once that is done, then we go ahead and nail off every hole on the nail flange, and then that's it. And then once you nail off every hole in the nail flange, then you come back and you put the sticky window flashing tape starting on the bottom. Tape the bottom first, then you tape the sides, the window legs, and then come back and tape the top. And that tape is set in a shingle pattern so that if you're not relying on the sticky adhesive necessarily to create that waterproof transition. If you work from the bottom to the top, you will naturally create a flap that's going to shed water. And then after that, we install our siding. So really, it's just as easy as that. Window installation is going to be the same generally on this post and beam barn as it is on just about any other house. If you have a Tyvek wrapped house that has a window, a weather resistant barrier, you're going to want to cut the top of that Tyvek and put the nail flange, tuck the nail flange up behind that, so that any water that comes down behind the siding over top of that Tyvek weather resistant barrier, it's going to shed on top of the flange and over the window and down and out of your building and not get inside. So we mistakenly taped the bottom window flange with tape. You can see that we didn't caulk it before we installed so that water could drain down and out over top of the flashing and away from the wood framing wall. But we accidentally taped the bottom. So we're gonna pull that off and everything's gonna be good to go. But we need to make sure to pull that off before we put our siding on, because we wanna make sure that if water does come out the bottom of that window and drains off that sill flashing, it has a way to get out. If we tape that bottom, the moisture has no way to get out. So we're gonna pull that, we're gonna install our siding, and we're gonna be rolling. But it's really just as easy as that. There's just a few steps, and you can install windows too and save yourself a bunch of money. So I hope you found this helpful. If you got any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments below. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Make that look pretty easy.
Yeah. I guess not peeling off the backing is pretty important, so you're not trying to deal with a whole piece of sticky flashing.
Yeah, you're just getting stuck to everything.
Yeah. Right on. That's it. Nice.